All right, what is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. And, well, I mean, you guys read the title. You know we're doing it in the Bivouac. And I am going to apologize ahead of time. That is right, I am opening the show up with an apology. This is a very serious offense at my advanced age. I haven't had my coffee yet. So we are operating on a protein bar and some Crystal Light. Yeah. Hey, we'll make it happen. Anyway, all right, that's enough of the joking around with the caffeine joke. So I hope everybody's fully caffeinated. You got a favorite beverage. You are ready for the show. It is going to be live Sunday, 10 a.m., even though this is not Sunday at 10 a.m., so hoping everybody had a great week, got a chance to get out, get some riding done, and if not, that means you're suiting up right now to go get some riding done, or maybe you're like me, bright and early, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, nobody on the road kind of guy, or person, hey, all right, you all know say. So, okay, this week we've got somebody special on the air for episode number 130 of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. None other than Todd Zacker of Zacker Adventures. So last night finished up an interview, and as soon as I hit the stop recording button, I get a call from Todd, and he is absolutely excited about some stuff that's going down back east. And I said, well, you know what? Hey, what are you doing tomorrow morning? Let's get you on the show. Let's talk a little bit about it. This has been a long time coming. For those of you that are not familiar with what he does, he actually lives back out east. Eastern United States, does a lot of rides and things like that there. We'll let him talk about that, get a little bit more detail. But how I met Todd, very simple and actually really cool. Todd is one of the only guys, one of the select few in the ranks with Brett Fox. Who else do we have? Brett Fox. I can see him, Lawrence Hacking, and a couple of other select few. That is right. Those are guys that have actually competed at the Baja Rally on adventure bikes. So that is how I met Todd Zacker. He was on his, what I believe is either I'm pretty sure it was a 1090. And that thing's an absolute animal of a bike. And to be out there running around and doing all of those dunes and all of the stuff that it was doing, my hat's off to them and those guys that decide to take the challenge of the Baja Rally on an adventure bike. So very, very awesome to see that. Did very, very well. And hey, I'm about it. Yeah. Big ass bike, lots of horsepower. As I say that, as I haven't ridden my 790 nearly enough as much, but hey, great conversations yesterday. All around, it was just a long day at work, but then to get home and be able to have some conversations with a few of our future guests and what they are up to, what have they been doing, and all of that fun stuff. So it was absolutely awesome. So question of the day, the question that I have been getting a lot of, and I have no way how to answer that at the moment, but is when is the Sonora Rally going to be? What dates? What is, what's Darren thinking? What month? We don't know. All we know is we got the Sonora Rally School coming up. I believe that was in December. Future dates and details and all of that coming. But before we make it all the way to Sonora Rally School in December and all the way to the Sonora Rally next year, early in the year, I'm assuming, we have got Baja Rally. Baja Rally going to be coming up in October. As usual, the first weeks of October is when they will be going off here. Let me get you the dates really quick as I look it up at the same time that we're all talking about it here. All right. 6-day Baja Rally, October 1st through October 7th. So that is going to be coming up not too long from now. The entries are open at the moment. Looks like they are in the current standard rate for applications. It is getting ready to jump up again for late entries here on August 1st. So if you're thinking about entering, now's the time to do it. Get that spot secured before the entries jump up to the late entry fee, which is going to be actually almost about another $1,000. So pretty crazy. Definitely want to jump on that if you're thinking of going. A great event. If you haven't seen it, go to bajarallymoto.com and you can see some of the pictures and the homepage. That's where I'm actually cruising right now. A lot of greats down there. A lot of good times. I think that, in that whole Catabina area, Catabina is that's what, I like. Hey, look, they got a picture of Steve Varney Down in the cactus. Okay, if nothing else, just go for the photos. Let's see here. So what does the breakdown look like? And we'll reach out to the organization, see who we can get on here to talk about, give us a little bit of a preview show. But looks like Sunday, October 1st, going to be the registration in San Quintin. No prologue stage. Stage 1 on Monday, going to be San Quintin to Catavenia. So right down to business for stage 1. Stage 2, going to be a loop around Catavenia. Stage 3, going to be a marathon stage going Catavenia, Bahia de Los Angeles, LA Bay for those. And then on day 4, stage 4, that's Thursday, October 5th, you're coming back from Bahia de Los Angeles to Catavenia. And then one more stage loop on Friday. That is going to be Catavenia to Catavenia. And for the final stage, you're coming back Catavenia to San Quintin. So very, very awesome to see. Very picturesque. A lot of trails, a lot of work has gone down in there. Baja Rally being one of the few organizations that has the permits to run down in the famous ecological preserve known as Valle de los Cirios. For those of you that don't know, it's the Bujum trees, or for those of you that may not know this, it's basically the trees from the Dr. Seuss book. That's what they look like. So it's pretty cool. Big cactus, big rocks, moonscapes. I mean, it's just a very, very awesome place to be in and race around and do. So we'll see what's happening here in the next few months. We are getting closer to it. Remember, it's right at the beginning of October. So definitely want to be paying attention to that. If you're looking at getting into it, definitely reach out to the organization. If you've got any questions, set up things like that, or anything that you may be curious about, that you may be thinking about and not really sure, happy to help. Of course, reach out to me on the Instagram. You can email me as well, podcast@chasingwaypoints.com. Any which way you'd like it. We would get a hold of some people, and we'll help get you situated. So I think that's going to be really good. All right. So that is our intro. That is what is happening and what is coming on. So let's see if now we can get today's guest, Todd Zacker, on the phone here in just a second. Let me switch over to this, and then we're going to go to this. All right. Let's get him on the phone. Got to hit the do not disturb. You don't want all these phone calls coming in.
Victor, how you doing?
Todd, morning.
Morning. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's what's today? Oh yeah, it's Friday morning. The days start to blend together, I find, with this whole adult life thing.
Yeah, I know it's hard to keep up with. I got talking on the phone so late last night. I didn't get home until 3:00 in the morning, and so I'm a little in the doghouse for getting home so late. And then also because I told my wife I would stop and help her mother out today with a car, and I knew I was doing it tomorrow anyway, but I was on the phone talking, and I drove right past her place. And so then I realized, well, I'm halfway home already. I might as well keep going.
I'm closer to here. Look, honey, I rested. I need to have all 5 senses about me. I want to make sure we get this right for your mother,
Yeah, exactly.
Reaching.
Yeah. I crawled into bed at 3:00 in the morning. My wife goes, "You're making way too much noise."
Oh man. Well, you know what though? I can tell you it could have been worse. So how did it go with my mother's car?
Exactly.
That would have been then it would have been like a rewind effect, No,
she wasn't that nice. She just says, you need to talk to my mother.
Nah. Uh-oh.
Yeah. You need to communicate with her. I'm worn out.
Yeah. And we're done. Nice.
Anyway, sorry.
But good. No, not at all. So, all right, you had a long day yesterday, and and you kind of told me what it was about, but want to share what you were out doing?
Sure.
Pretty rad.
It was amazing. I got a chance to go to Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, and watch some car companies test their new rally cars. And so there's a new rally car coming out that I can't talk about that's going to be hitting the rally circuit at the next race. And but I got to sweep the course there and also clear the course because you don't have radio service. Even the emergency services don't through those areas.
Interesting.
In certain areas. And so, if the fog sets in, they can't talk to the last guy or a couple of guys. So they basically just say, okay, moto's coming through. When moto passes you, the track is hot. Mm-hmm. And but so what they mean by the track is they got to run these just amazing Forest Service and county roads. And if anybody's ever been, if you've ever been in the East, when they say a county road, that's just above a 2-track sometimes. And so these cars were testing, and they're one of the stretches was a 5-mile stretch, and one of the cars was averaging 94 miles an hour.
Whew.
Averaging, top speeding on one course, he top speed at 121. Another one was 130 something. I know that's nothing compared to a trophy truck or anything, but these roads, there are parts where it's so narrow a trophy truck wouldn't be able to get through.
Yeah. Well, not much margin of error, and and that also means not slowing down to 35 to take that 90-degree corner either.
Oh yeah, it was so funny and so neat because the local community was all in, both feet, just jumped right in. They had people from the state House of Representatives, they had senators, they had planning board, economic development people, the commissioner of the state was there. I mean, this was unbelievable, the amount of people they had out there. And, because how it is with rally, you get out there and a lot of the times people don't want to see you. Mm-hmm. or permitting is a nightmare. Yeah. And it was so neat to see all these people out there. I mean, Forest Service was out there, and I mean, everybody was smiling from ear to ear. One, because those cars are freaking amazing, and they take your breath away when they drive by you. Mm-hmm. But also, just the amount of economic impact to their area was the biggest thing, and they were very, very excited about it because they're not used to seeing all their Airbnbs for that county be rented out in a weekend. Mm-hmm. Local people getting the catering, and how it is with these teams when they roll in, and so they see this and they start seeing where their advertising dollars are going, and their volunteer work is going, and the local fire department got a check from the different testing companies, so everybody was very, very happy, and everybody got fed very well because how it is in the South.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. No,
but anyway,
that's awesome.
That was super cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so originally when we were talking, I thought you were doing it in a car. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know that you were, I also did car stuff, but no, you were on your adventure bike. Is it a 1090?
Oh, so actually, yeah, you remember the 1090. Mm-hmm. I've switched over. No, I was actually doing it on my 500, my KTM 500. I was doing the sweep on that.
Oh, okay.
And the clearing, and yeah, the first time I did it, the fire department and a couple of the corner workers, I got this note yesterday from them. They go, "All right, you're stupid. You're insane. We don't even, we think we're going fast when we go down these roads at 35, 45 miles an hour. Yeah. They go, we clocked you coming down one of the straightaways at 92 miles an hour. And then you were setting up for a turn, and they go, that's just crazy. So yeah, I was on the 500. I wouldn't have, I did have my GS. I ride an adventure bike, the 1200 or 1250 GS now. Mm-hmm. Cause that 1090 is just a hoodlum machine. Yeah, I did the Baja Rally on it. It was a good time. Yeah. But my wife put her foot down because you turn into an idiot when you get on that bike, and she's riding two up. She's not real happy about it.
No, I wouldn't imagine that either.
So I got to sweep, and that was kind of the bonus to it. But I was out there doing recon, and got a lot of information and a lot of contacts, and really spent a lot of time with Forest Service and the local counties, both sheriff, fire and EMS, fire and rescue, all those people. And they're wide open out there. They just want tourism dollars. And so you'll be seeing something coming from that area for rally next year for motorcycle navigational, roadbook navigational rally.
Yeah. Nice.
For sure. 100%.
Good. Well, that is awesome to hear. And then, kind of cool clearing it on a bike. And I can imagine, you setting up for a corner, and it's kind of like, well, this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you back a corner, back a bike into a corner. Well, so for the uninitiated, that looks pretty violent.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about it was they thought I was, they said, oh, it was kind of really cool. You went through one corner and you kind of did a little something for the spectators. And I go, that was not planned.
It may have looked planned, but no, ladies and gentlemen, that was absolutely not planned.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, but also with it, it was, that's a different kind of riding than roadbook navigation.
Yeah.
You're running a little bit harder, but you're also not running at race pace when you're clearing.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a chance to open it up. You're going to do it when you're on a closed course in the woods,
mm-hmm.
or I should say on a road. Yeah. So you're going to take every bit of advantage of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if there's room to do it, and everybody knows you're coming, and I mean, that's the I guess you could look at it this way: is you kind of have to give them something to talk about, because if you come by putting by, it may be very unattractive or not as attention getting as when you come flying by. Yeah. So when you come flying by, you're like, oh, okay, the excitement kind of actually builds up a little bit. So I guess there's some science to it. At least that's what we're going to call it.
Right.
So you've got there's actually two things coming up. You've got an event coming up in the fall that you've been working on, but then you've also been doing some rally schools and some smaller rally events. Let's talk about that before we get to your fall event.
Yeah. So kind of just a quick background. I do training for adventure bikes and stuff like that. And what I saw, one, I love navigational roadbook rallies. And doing the event out there in Baja really opened my eyes to that whole industry and the people that are in it and that whole community, everything else. I really, really enjoyed it. And then coming back here, I train people on adventure bikes, and the people that are on adventure bikes are, your middle-aged people going through either a midlife crisis or they just have some disposable income, and they're going out and buying these bikes, and which kind of scares me sometimes, because, a lot of them say they have dirt bike experience, but yet their dirt bike experience or riding experience was their cousin's dirt bike back in the 80s that, they may have rode across the field once. Mm-hmm. So it's not real great. And they're hopping on a 120, 140 horsepower machine, and that's their bike for riding on dirt. And it's just way too much. So what I've been trying to do is I've been kind of dialing people back and getting them to the mid-size bikes more. Yep. Well, when I was doing that, I was like, well, shoot, you know what? There's this Rally Navigator app. It's free. I want to start getting the dual sport guys out here doing stuff with us. Not only the adventure guys, but the dual sport guys. So I was trying to find an low cost of entry into Rally. And with Rally Navigator having that free app, it's basically a glorified PDF reader with, with the odometer reading, the GPS odometer reading, speed reading, and cap heading. Worked out really, really well for what I ended up doing. And because, not only a dual sport guy could get just use either their current phone, a dual sport guy, or an adventure bike guy could use their phone, or they could use a cheap tablet. I mean, matter of fact, one thing I did the first time I did it was I just went online, bought a $25 LG tablet, mounted it up with a mount that I made myself, mm-hmm. Off of one of my old roadbook reader mounts, mm-hmm. and grabbed a Bluetooth toggle that, off of Amazon for $9.99. And so for $40, I was in the game with a good, a good setup. And so I went out and, I mapped out all these courses. I started marketing, doing a mock rally. And I did my first event, and I had some older guys on GSs, and they're like, well, we're not racers. And I'm like, well, this really isn't a race. This is more testing your navigational skills. And they're like, what do you mean? And, it's hard to get people to understand you're not using your GPS, and you're not using, and you're not using a map. You got to read what I wrote down for you. You have to follow what I wrote down for you, kind of thing. Yeah. And so the first one, it wasn't very big. It was, I think it was like 8 people. But the chatter got out about it. And the next year, everybody who did it was like, you have to do this. You have to do this again. So this past spring, I was like, okay, I'm going to put this out there. I put it out there, and a couple guys, showed up that I didn't expect to show up, that were, kind of higher level riders and stuff like that. And what I did was I did it as, 2 different routes, did it with a dual sport route and an adventure route. And by doing that, you got the dual sport guys that wanted a little more of a challenge, both navigational and terrain wise, and then the adventure guys that were just out to get to Starbucks and back. Not really, it wasn't that easy, but it's a joke. But anyway, just so that they didn't have to be pushing bikes over rocks and stuff like that. But same mileage. And so how I had it planned out was, everybody would come in the day before. I gave them a practice route so that they could get familiar with it. Gave them a measured mile so they could calibrate their odometer readings on their GPS units. Because some if they were using phones, most Apple product was working fine, or an iPad or something like that was tracking fine, and Android would be a little bit off, so we had to adjust that, whether it was a phone or whatever. But we also had guys with the old, the original paper book, road book, with their ICOS and the
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Victor with the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hey, super quick break in the episode. Want to talk really quick about Spotify for podcasters. If you are interested in getting your story out to the world, starting your own podcast, it is super, super simple. Head on over to spotify.com/podcasters and get all of the information. It is a one-stop shop. You can edit, you can do Q&A, you can do video podcasts, all sorts of different things in one platform. They handle all of the distribution for you, so it is super, super simple and effective. So with that being said, guys, let's get back to the episode.
Completely plugged in electronic, not manual feeding. But so, yeah, I mean, we had it all. And so it was really neat to see the mix of people. And how I planned it out was, I had them do the measurement, had them do the test route. They didn't have to do the sample route, but just about everybody who did it was really glad they did, because, there's little things in the reading of the road book and understanding the person who wrote the road book, what they're thinking for their, as you're moving forward. So, and then, Saturday morning, first thing in the morning, everybody grabbed a biscuit, an egg, bacon or egg, cheese, whatever biscuit, that, we had catered in, had a riders meeting, and we launched everybody in, I think it was 30-second or 1 minute intervals. And, it was super cool. The guys, what was really funny was the adventure guys went in one direction and the dual sport guys went in another direction, like 100 feet off the start. and so I said, do not follow anybody. Yeah. If you think they're in your class, don't follow them. Navigate yourself. And I thought everybody was doing good. I'm wrapping up. I launched the whole crew, and, we ended up having about 30 participants in it, and which was a great turnout, I thought. And I'm sitting there at the tent, and I'm tearing the tent down so I can go out, because I need them at lunch. and I grill out in the forest for them. So when they rolled in, they had, they got to sit and chatter and everything else, both the adventure guys and dual sport guys. But as I'm tearing this all down and I'm throwing it in my truck to get ready to go out to the lunch spot, a guy goes by and he goes, "I'm going the right way, right?"
No, geez.
And I just looked at him. I said, "No, sorry. You shouldn't be going back by me. Trust me, not until later today."
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. And I said, and I pointed him to the tulip that, he needed to be on. And I pointed at the end of the driveway because we were on a 100-acre farm. So they did a mile and a half before they even got off the farm.
Oh, gotcha.
Navigating and real intense short navigational or short distances between tulips, because that way they're being mindful to be checking their tulips and understanding, this is navigational. This is not a race, or, as they say, we can call it a competition now, if the AMA told me, but not a race. Yeah. So, but, with that said, we went out, and lunchtime, there was all kinds of chatter. I mean, the guys were just loving, like they had a blast the morning session. I brought gas out to them. And it just ended up being a great lunch, launched everybody back out. One guy, actually one of the top guys, really, really fast guy, he busted out of there with another one and was trying to catch him and ripped his front tire off on a rock. Ooh. Just going a little too fast on the Forest, or actually it was more of a Jeep trail. Mm-hmm. And I think Jeep trail, it's almost a single track. And and so he calls me up real quick, because there's not very many places you get cell service, and he's like, "Hey, do you have an inner tube?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." I says, "But roll back here." And he rolled back, and another competitor had come back for something. Mm-hmm. And we went to work on it, and it just wasn't going to work out. So we threw him on. It was the end of his day, but we were able to get him back, right on the trailer that I took out. And then that evening we had a big event, a dinner and everything else to celebrate. What was really, really nice is my sponsors for my adventure school threw a lot of money at it. Climbed through $500. It was awesome of them to throw $500 in gift cards to the competitors. And then also Outback Mototech threw $250 at it. Mm-hmm. The local motorcycle shop threw a $100 gift card at it. Green Chili Adventure Gear was awesome. I said something to them, and they sent me a Z drag. They sent me the bike recovery system. Then they sent me a dynamic toe strap and some tie downs and stuff like that, and you did just to give away as door prizes, and that was so there was it was neat seeing all the how well the sponsors supported the event, and then the local people. What was really cool about it was I knew the local ranger, and we had our permitting and everything else that we needed for it, and he shows up at dinner, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, he's a super nice guy, I know this guy, and he shows up, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble today. and he comes up, and I said, hey, grab yourself something to eat and everything. And he eats, he sits down, he's eating. And I start doing the awards, and I was just thanking everybody for coming out and everything. And I, thanked him for what what he was letting us do here. Mm-hmm. And he just stood up and he goes, I'm mad. And I said, what? And he goes, I forgot it was today. I wanted to do it with you guys. So he's like, no, he says, what you guys did was amazing. We're all for this. But we put in speed zones where we needed speed zones. A lot of the roads, a lot of the trails that we ran, you just can't run at speed on them. It was quite hilarious how I kind of timed things for people, because I didn't want people speeding. So what I did is I gave a set time. I said, okay, each one of these routes have a set time. Mm-hmm. Instead of having people, try to race for speed, they're trying to keep it a set time. And so how we did it is we took the roads and actually figured out how many mileage in each mile per hour. Each speed zone. Yeah. And when I say speed zone, the only place we really put a speed zone was in the national park, where they went through I say national park, it's the Blue Ridge Parkway. They had to drive down a little ways to liaison between dirt roads. But anyway, other than that, we just put in the speed, 35 miles an hour on Jeep trails and different trails like that in Forest Service. And then, the regular speed limits on the road. Well, there's one road that everybody had to take that was 55 miles an hour, and it's the tightest, windiest paved road we have in the area. And so nobody was averaging that speed. So when everybody came in and I was calculating the speeds, I'm like, gosh, nobody is near what I expected on speed. And some of the guys were like, man, I was doing everything I could to, just get to the end. They were like, I wasn't worried about meeting your time. I just wanted to do it. I was, I'm reading it and I'm trying to go as quick as I can and everything else. And I don't think anybody was within 10 or 15 minutes of the set time. And when I say that, they were all over it, way over it. Yeah. So they were like, what? So it was cool. So what that told me was, everybody was very courteous of the time and everything else. I'm sorry, of the area. Yeah. And so that will bring us back. But before, coming up to the event, what we did was we did evening meetings, just online training with reading road books and what to expect. Because a lot of these people hadn't done it. And so, for 2 or 3 weeks prior to the event, I would set a 2-hour slot. And I'd say, all right, we're going to do a road book icon and road book review, basically what you're going to be what you're looking at on your dash and what you should be reading and stuff like that. And that was very, very helpful for the guys. I'm doing that. So that's kind of how that all ran. It was such a big hit. There wasn't one person that didn't say, I can't wait to come back. Matter of fact, a lot of them are upset because I've set up a new one for this fall, and it's going to be the weekend of October. Well, actually, I think it's September. I can't look at my calendar. September 30th, I think is what it is. Let me check here real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, the biggest feedback I'm getting are the people that can't make it for the day. So we're doing it the 29th. Well, the 30th is the day of the event. That's the day of the mock rally. Mm-hmm. And then on the 29th of September, we're going to have, a sample route, measured mile, stuff like that. And what we'll do is we'll cater in breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for them. And, on the day of the event, we'll have the measured mile the day before. We'll have the sample ride the day before, and also the place that we do the event, they have free camping. So that's included in the event fee. So you get camping on Friday and Saturday night. And usually, a lot of people say, I'm just going to leave after the event on Saturday. Well, after they start drinking a couple beers with us around the fire pit, you know how that goes.
Yeah. Doing some bench racing. Mm-hmm.
That's right. So so we're planning it again. It's going to be a different, location of routes, which is really cool. Cause where we're at here in Virginia, this is going to be it's going to run out of Greenville, Virginia at Penn Merrill Farms. Mm-hmm. There. And the nice thing that we have there is, we have thousands of miles of Forest Service, Jeep trail, that type of riding, and just some amazing twisty paved roads in that area. So, we're going to run everybody out in a completely different direction than we ran them this last time. The dual sport route will be, we had a very, very challenging point in the last dual sport route. This one will have some very challenging spots if you don't pick line selection properly as you're navigating through. But it's all doable. Everything that the dual sport guys do, I actually pre-ride on my GS. And everybody goes, well, be that difficult. Well, this past one, there was a hero section that there's only 2 people in the group that really had done it on a big bike. And that was, I don't know if some of your listeners might know who Ben Fopp is. Ben Fopp's one of my instructors, but he's the GS Trophy qualifier for the US. He's one of the top 3 guys in the US that went off and represented the US for BMW on the BMWs. So, and that was his training ground was those roads. And there's one that's called an alternate, and it takes a mile or a mile and a half off of your route. So, you save a lot of time if you can make it right up it, but it's a challenge. But yeah, so we'll have challenging sections for the dual sport guys, the adventure guys. I try to, they're going to have some amazing gravel roads, amazing Forest Service roads. They're just not going to be, as challenging as the dual sport routes. So, and a couple guys that have done rally were out there. It was really nice. And it was, it worked out really well. And yes, we provide both digital and paper road books.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so that, I mean, it opens the door because, I mean, I like the, I like the analog feel, right? I like the idea of paper and just that whole, I don't know what you necessarily want to call it, but I just enjoy that whole thing. It's like old school. But, that's not to say that if you're looking to get into it, and I think you came across and set up a really interesting setup, right? Doing it with basically a really cost-effective tablet off of Amazon and a simple controller, and it's just enough to get you out there, and worst case scenario, you put it for sale on the local marketplace and it'll sell to some kid or somebody, that's looking for something to play games on or whatever. But it's enough to get you out there. And is it sunlight readable at noon in, direct sunlight or whatever? No, but you know what? It's enough to get out there. Mm-hmm. So and I think that's the key, once you get people doing rally, as and your listeners know, it's addictive. And, I actually had 3 or 4 people message me, some explicitives the next day after, and they go, I hate you. And I'm like, what? And they're like, I can't stop watching video about rally. I did not realize how exciting and exhilarating this was. Yeah. And so it was, so it's really neat to see a lot of these guys and now they're all getting excited about the next event coming up. And, I think we're at about 40 riders now. We'll cap it at about 75, maybe. It just depends on capabilities of the property. It's not capabilities of the routes, because the routes can accommodate the area, the volume, all that. That's not an issue at all. It's really just whether or not the venue wants to handle that. Because another thing that's nice about it is, yes, you can camp there. They have showers and everything else at the place, but they also have lodge rooms. They have cabins. They have cabinets. They have a bike shop. Matter of fact, we did a lot of work on bikes before and after the event. They have a full-on bike shop with lifts and everything else for use to the community, which is super cool that they do that for anybody who stays there. Or I should say the people that are staying at the location. Mm-hmm. And so it makes it nice. You don't have to you can be as rugged or posh as you want, and glamping is perfectly fine. So again, it comes back to, what's your price of entry? What do you want for price of entry, or what's your cap? You can come in and you can actually do this event all in for the cost of the event. And gosh, I forgot what I even have it up for, but it's, I want to say it was I think it's $249 for this next one. I have to look on my website. Yeah. See, not real prepared. I'm sorry. No. Well, actually, that's a perfect transition. Speaking of website, what is the website?
ZackerVentures.com.
All right.
And that's Zacker. A lot of people like to
throw
add,
the CH in there. Or
either CH or ARY, but it's just ZackerVentures.com.
all right.
So, yeah, I have it put down as Friday the 29th because that's the day we want you coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But it shows it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm way off. I said 149. Let's try 179 for your listeners there, Victor.
Yeah. Nice.
Limited time only.
Yeah.
But no, we're doing it. We're just trying to cover our costs because I want to see more people in Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
I love this type of event. It's a lot of fun. It covers our insurance, our permitting. The only real stipulation that I get any kind of buck back from anybody usually is you have to be an AMA member to do the event.
Yeah.
So you know what, that does push it up to, in the 2 somethings if you're not an AMA member already.
But it's, and it's for good reason. It's supporting the American Motorcycle Association. And then, if there's any like insurances and things like that associated with it, that helps. So
and that's, you can't do these events without someone like that. I went through the chartering for AMA to get chartered. Mm-hmm. And I do that every year, and all my events get sanctioned, whether they're a training event or if they're a mock rally like this. I sanction them because they can insure us, and they can insure us for, not just, a couple $1,000s or whatever, a couple $1 million is what they insure us for. And it really helps us out as long as we, it protects us, it protects the riders, it protects the property that we do it on. And it's not like the charge of some events, which makes it really nice so that we can do, lower cost entry or, lower fees.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that is because that's usually the killer in any of the events and any of that kind of stuff. That's usually the stuff that, drives the entry fees up even higher and higher is, all the permitting costs and all of the research and stuff. You got all the back end work, gets very, very expensive. And especially the more counties, the more organizations you have to deal with. Everybody wants I'm not going to say they want a piece of the action, but they just, hey, that's if you want to put foot, you want to set foot on these trails or do this, well, it's going to cost you.
Yeah. So. And, another thing that's really nice about the area we're in, it's good and bad. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We're in a very, where we're doing a lot of our events, our old coal industry areas or timber industry areas. And we all know that those industries are basically almost non-existent anymore. They're very depressed areas. So, when they get people coming through, they really rely on those tourism dollars or these dollars that they get from events where people are coming in and just spending money in their local community. So you get a different vibe from the people. That's what I love about it. You get some areas where people are like, we don't want you here. Well, you ask that gas station down the road, when he has 100 bikes stopping in, what he thinks of having those bikes come through there, he's whistling a different tune.
Yeah.
And so that's, like with this event, this past one, I didn't do it, but this coming one, I'm actually going to have, some mandatory stops. And when I say mandatory stops, there'll be gas stops. That twofold. One, so I don't have to carry gas for people because I carried gas for the last one, which wasn't a big deal. But you know what? I'd rather you stop at the local gas station, do a 5, 10, 15-minute stop, whatever it's going to be, or 20 stop. Get your fuel, grab a snack from inside, and they always have something just really cool sitting there. If at the counter, they may have a country ham biscuit sitting there at the corner that the lady down the street had made, that morning or whatever, or whatever. Just something to, give you a snack and get you through the rest of the thing. Because the way I've planned it out, you're going to have to pass two gas stops because some of the dual sport bikes just aren't going to make it. Adventure bikes obviously will be able to make it through the whole thing, but you know what? We're still going to slow them down and make them stop.
Yeah.
So
good. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And, you know, I mean, sometimes it's that forced stop, you know, to make sure you're keeping up. Cause I mean, that's one of the other things is like, oh yeah, I can ride, you know, 200-mile ride or 300-mile ride in a day on an adventure bike. Yeah. That, you know, doable. Okay. But, a lot of people that haven't done rally before don't understand there's also a mental fatigue side to it, having to navigate. And if you started a downward spiral where, you know, just missed a couple of notes and it's in your head and you can't clear your head of it, it just mentally starts to tax you much more than the physical does. Physical, I mean, throw the road book away and say, whatever, I'm just going to go ride. You know, you'll go do double what's left of the stage and not even think about it. But the mental aspect is what. So no, I completely agree. I think that's a really good idea. You know, especially also for the local economy, because the whole rally thing is a whole different sport compared to a lot of the other one. You know, a lot of the sprint racing stuff, they're out in the middle of nowhere. Everything is time. You know, so you're not going to get that. So no, I think that's really good. And how many years have you been doing this now?
Well, this will be, last year was my first year doing these little mock rallies. And then this year, because of the demand from the spring event, I was just, you know, that's all I was planning on doing is one every spring. Everybody's like, no, we want more. And actually I had multiple people say, if you could put on maybe 3 or 4 of these events a year, we'd all show up. You know, because I mean, obviously, it's like going to an event, you know, like adventure bike rallies, you know, where people just go and show up and, you know, they do a couple routes and hang out and, you know, camaraderie and everything else. But this throws another, you know, the navigational part throws in a whole nother aspect. And, you know, I tell everybody, you know, I do it just like you do at the rallies where, you know, at the paper guys, they'll get them the night before. Digital guys, you get them when in the morning. You get them about an hour before. I send them out in an email. So you got to be ready to upload them into your system before you pull up at the thing, you know, and I explain that at the rider meeting before we start launching riders. And I make sure everybody got the email, you know, while we're sitting there, make sure everybody's uploaded. If they don't know how, make sure somebody gets on, you know, helps them upload it digitally. Cause that was, you know, probably the biggest issue this year was just people understanding how to do it, how to get it uploaded. If you had came in a day before, you know, like I would say all but maybe 1 or 2 of the riders did, they already learned how to upload it because, you know, I send them the sample route and the measured mile so that they could get it. But, you know, I was telling you yesterday, the one thing I don't like about doing the rallies is I don't get to compete in them. I don't get to do the routes with everybody. And I have some just amazing ones coming up. Like this next one is just going to be so much fun. But on the contrary of that, you know, back to that double-edged sword with it, I get to ride it, you know, 6 times before you guys get to ride it. Which some people are like, well, that's kind of boring. Well, no, when you go on some of these routes, I can go, there was a couple roads that I literally went over multiple times, not because the road book was off, because I just loved riding the route. It was just so neat, so beautiful. I mean, I had one route where I actually turned the guys around and sent them right back up the same way they came because the road was so beautiful. And there was not a competitor that did not say something about that road. They were just like, that was amazing. Cause, you know, we have the road had a creek that was, or I shouldn't say, I guess we'd call it a creek. They call it a river. It was just a whitewater creek that ran for 7 miles along this road. And this road climbed, like 15 or 2,000 feet. You know, in that 7 miles, and you're just going, you know, right along that. There's campsites along it. There's a Bigfoot out there. Just only 1 or 2 competitors noticed it. But you know, and it was just beautiful, you know, in the scenery and everything else. And that's, you know, a couple of the guys were, you know, the adventure guys, they're like, I was getting lost because I was too busy looking around at some of the scenery instead of reading my next note. so it was kind of cool.
Nice. Well, and that's, you know, and that's again the big thing with rally is, you know, maybe one of those guys had been down that road before, maybe, you know, or a few of them or whatever, but it just still so new and so unknown when, you know, you don't really have an expectation of what's coming when you don't have a GPS file. You know, with a road book, you're so busy navigating that when you look up and then you realize like, oh, I'm actually here. And it's a very different, you know, it's like, I don't know, I guess I can associate it to when you first started riding a motorcycle, it was probably your commute to work. And the commute was completely different after you started riding your motorcycle to work. And, you know, and so this is the same thing. Now you're taking that same motorcycle. Well, now you're navigating using a map. You're not using your brain to follow the road that you've always taken or the way you've done it, because there could be little differences, but it just completely changes it once again, the area you're in.
100%. Matter of fact, pre-riding these routes, even though I've been here riding these routes for years. You know, there's some of these roads I've probably went over 1,000 times, and I still, when I'm doing it this way, it's so much different, and I just enjoy it so much. And as a matter of fact, my wife gets upset because, you know, a lot of times I'll do the pre-riding during the week. And checking these things out. And she's like, that's not fair. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I want to ride these routes with you. You know, you're getting the best part of it. You're getting to do all this fun stuff while I have to work.
Well, how is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's, you know, a perfect example. You know, her and I have rode these routes, camped on these roads, everything else, you know, so many times, but yet you go out there and you do it, you add that little difference. You know, it's just like you're saying, you know, you used to do it in a car and then you go to a bike and it's a different route going to work, or it's a different experience altogether. I mean, you smell the guy smoking that cigarette in front of you when you stop. You drive by that house, you know what they had for breakfast, you know, kind of thing. And then with this, you know, you're used to riding these roads, but you know what? You don't remember, you know, you may not have turned down this way, or you've not got to this point by taking these 3 roads instead of, you know, one road, you know, kind of labyrinth through to get to where you need to be to. So it's really neat. I love it. I love the rally industry or the community. I love all the events. And I can't wait to get more people out doing it. You know, one with these mock rallies, next year will be in Kentucky. You know, I think I can safely say, you know, after all my meetings this week, that we're definitely going to have something there. It just got to pick out time and dates and stuff like that. And it will be it'll be different than the mock rallies. It'll be, you know, we'll team up with the right people and have the right type of event for everybody.
Yeah. No, that would be awesome. And like, yeah, from what you mentioned, it sounds like there was all the people you needed to talk to all in one event at that time. So I think that's, it's a very, very positive, you know, outlook on that.
Yeah, no, it was, the feedback from the community was amazing. The local authorities, the different economic development people, you know, just like I was saying earlier, even the state representatives, everything else, they were just like, give us more, you know, help our community out. What can we do for you to make this successful for you so that your people want to come back again? And that's what it's like. And I guess I kind of think of it as probably, I don't know if it's still this way, but I can imagine when everybody started rallying in Mexico, that had to be the way the community was, and, very welcoming, very happy to see you, kind of thing. And just, help us help ourselves kind of thing with the communities.
Yeah.
And get your economic impact on that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's how it grows. I think the biggest, at least here stateside, something that can be drawn on is the BDR routes, the backcountry discovery routes. It's a similar thing. They create the route. Now you're going to be funneling people through these towns, that want to do this in the adventure bike community. And so this just adds to it if there is no BDR in that route or in that area. And if there is, then great. It's just one more event, one more thing that's going to help draw a crowd. And part of me, living in California, I feel like it's kind of, there's a shame with so many locked gates and stuff like that, that it could be limiting some of this stuff, for these small communities, for these small little towns where, they, I'm trying to think where we were out in Mojave, there's like this one general store out in the middle of nowhere, and we do the SoCal rally, and I show up and everybody's there, So it's like, is it business that they see throughout the year? Yeah. What they may see an entire quarter, they just got in one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 100% behind it. I think that's the way to do it. And especially with all the rules you can put, you can put speed limits, you can, route people different ways. You're slowing people down. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that could be done that just helps the impact locally as far as what people may be concerned about, people smoking through town and things like that.
So, that's twofold though. And this was what was very interesting. And this was actually pointed out to me by the Forest Service guys and the local law enforcement was, we want restrictions in certain areas, but they pointed out to me, there were roads that have no speed limits. And I'm like, I said, what? And like coming from these guys, and they're like, yeah, no, this whole area right here has no speed limits.
Yeah.
So you're not breaking the law to be speeding, to be going at whatever speed you want to go. And I'm like, it was like my head exploded. And I said, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, no, this is true. And then, another part of it is the private land out there. The private landowners are old coal mines, and those people that manage those let people ride on them. So they're open, and the developer or the economic guy who I'm working with, he covers 36 counties out there, and which is probably an area the size of an area probably the size of, I'm trying to think of a state out there that would be out west is too big to use. I can use this eastern state, but something the size of Maryland or New Jersey or something like that. And so he's over that whole area, and he's like, we can ride anywhere unless you want to ride. No. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, oh no, the land management people here are all private. They have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres in places. So if you need to run, let people just loose, they will have, you can send them on navigational on 250,000 acres. And so, we're able to run them anywhere we want to run them. And when you're on that, these are timed events, and they're, and as AMA keeps telling me, they're a competition. They're not a race, but they're a we'll keep it as a recreation. So the reason I bring that up is because I know as participants, a lot of people are like, man, they're just so restrictive to do and everything else in the U.S., with speeds and everything else, all the regulations. I don't know exact regulations. I know spark arresters obviously are going to be number one. I don't know about sound decibels. I think that might be an issue, but really, other than that, and your bike is street legal in the state that you're in, those are going to be the bike requirements.
Yeah.
So that's basically anybody running rally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one of the requirements usually is that the bike has to be able, it has to be road going. It has to have the ability to be on, on public highways. Down in Mexico, not so much, but anything you ride up here, I mean, it's just kind of a known thing. You need to be able to, it has to be street registered to be on their insurance and that kind of stuff. And that's an interesting point, right? You get into the specs of it, right? Okay, does it have turn signals? Does it have a horn? Does it have all of these things? But then also for the Forest Service, the decibels, the spark arrestor, I feel like it's most people adhere to that anyway. You can buy an off-the-shelf exhaust. I don't think most people out there are out there, pulling restrictors and doing all of this stuff just for the sake of making more noise. I mean, I'm sure there are people doing that, but I feel like for the most part, the rally community is mindful of that, and it's not a race bike. A wide open exhaust isn't going to help you if it's not tuned to the T to have that wide open exhaust. So, I mean, yeah, all you're doing is killing your eardrums.
We're not professionals. Yeah, we're not professionals.
Yeah.
And, and so we don't need that extra 10% or whatever to get us to those speeds or those competitive levels. But yeah, but I'll tell you what, when I was out there, those cars weren't under those decibels. I can tell you that.
No, but they have an engineer back home and, wherever the manufacturer is, that was literally watching the live data on a, super gigabit internet stream. So before the driver lifted, they knew he was going to lift. So they have that car tuned to the T. There's not a single lazy cylinder on that thing. So
oh gosh, it was unbelievable. It was they'd come back every time with and boom, there's a computer. And what I'll tell you, the part that blew me away, and everybody said the same thing. These guys, this one team that was out there, they have these aluminum like pipes that hold the car up. And when I say pipes, they're not the pipes that go down in the ground. They're like a little A-arm. Like, the old, on dirt bikes, how you have the one that goes in the axle to hold it up. It was like that, except for a guy would go under the front with a jack the whole car up like two feet off the ground, 3 feet off the ground. And then they put this thing in just like that in the side, except for it's aluminum pipes.
Yeah.
In that shape on both sides, 2 of them. And then they drop it down. And while the car's running, they're running it through the gears and guys are underneath it looking at it and checking things. And I'm like, hell no. Absolutely not.
There's an Instagram account that is OSHA. Is this okay? That would be that would have been a great mini clip video, but then again, you would probably never have been invited back if that leaked. Impressive to see, but you got to be there to see that. Yep. Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, that's, I've worked a lot of years on cars and I know better. So, yeah, for those playing the home game, that's stuff that you want a certified welder doing. Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, well, good. That's super cool. But yeah, the rally, I'm super pumped about it coming up. The one this fall. If anybody is interested, they can reach out to us. But also, I just want to make it a very successful event. Yeah. For this next one, I want to get the hype going for next year. The guys in Kentucky, working very closely with me, talking with me, and they basically are saying, when are you going to start running routes? We will have this person with you. There was one old guy that said, he come up to me and goes, when you come out here to do your routes now, let me know. And I said, okay. And he goes, I got some roads they don't know are still there.
Nice.
and the Forest Service guy standing there, and so's the local county guy, and they just looked and they said, you know what, if there's some things that need to be cleared off that road, we can keep them closed until your event and then make it look like they've never been closed. And the other thing that was super neat about it was, after I was all said and done, the Forest Service guy, he was handing a key to the other to the promoter for the rally event, and he said, "Here you go, just get that back to me in a couple days." Yeah. and that's to open up all the gates and see where you want to go, and then you come back to them and say, "Hey, this is where I want to go, and here it's in my permitting," and then he goes through it and approves everything he can approve, and then a couple days before the event, they open up all those gates to any for the rally event mainly, but other people are used to them being closed, so they're not going to go down them.
Yeah.
So it's really neat, really interesting.
That is awesome, and that was one of the few things that you would never see that here in California. Having one of the guys with the locked gate with the key, handing it off to somebody. They value that key, But dude, that is awesome. I'm absolutely excited to hear about how it progresses. I mean, and talking more about it, and hell, maybe it can squeeze the time out, get out there and check it out for the event or one of the trainings that you do. I think it's really cool. Yeah. I think I think that's a really good recipe, is just break it down to something really, really simple for people to learn, how to roadbook navigate, don't go fancy. I mean, there's people that, shiny object syndrome. I suffer from that. I haven't found treatment for it yet. I'm not sure I would want treatment for it, but it's one of those things that how far do you want to go down the rabbit hole? If you want to just get your toes, dip your toes in it and just kind of check it out, then yeah, there's a lot of simple solutions for it. But, if you want to go full send, Matthew at Rally Moto Shop is more than happy to help you with all the right stuff, so it's like you said earlier, right? It's how far do you want to go? What's the budget?
Yep.
So yeah, nice. Very nice. Well, cool. Well, I think you may have a card that you need to work on. I don't want to keep you from that. You're already in hot water. I don't want to increase the temperature on that.
Well, the thing, my biggest problem right now is I got to put everybody together. I have another conference call here at in a few minutes, and then another one at 1:00. Just wrapping up from this past week. So nice. I'm very excited, and I hope to see a lot of people out for the mock rally in the end of September 29th, 30th here in Greenville, Virginia, and then start looking for next year. I'll probably run another mock rally before I run the big rally there in Kentucky.
Nice. So, okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put some links in the description for people to check out. And then also when we start sharing the episode, which will be live this Sunday at 10 in the morning, we'll get, we'll get some traffic that way. I think, I don't know that a lot of the listeners, I mean, you may be right in the backyard of a lot of the listeners that are tuned in. So, it'd be really awesome to see, some of the guys, out there, some of the people out there. So awesome.
Yeah. Build it up out here on the East Coast so we can get more guys going both sides of the country.
Yeah.
To do these.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know there's irons in the fire out here on the West Coast still. I know Kota Rally not going down this year, unfortunately, but that's not means it's gone. It's just this year. So I'm excited. There's we're getting into the rally finally here in the States. Maybe it'll grow bigger than soccer. Who knows? Awesome.
I don't know if we'll do that, but I think it's its time. It's definitely turned and starting to pick up pace again. I think it's a good time for it.
Yeah,
it's right for picking.
I agree. Awesome. All right, sir. Well, thank you very much, Todd, for being on the show, and we'll get those links up, and we'll go from there. I'll send you some stuff.
All right. Thank you very much for having me, Victor. Cool. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Have a good day.
All right. You have a good one. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. See you. Bye. All right. There you have it. Todd Zacker, Zacker Adventures. So Zacker Adventures, Zacker Adventures.com is the website for him and the group. I'm thinking about this as we're talking and all of these little events and micro events and small trainings, nothing fancy, just basic routes and things like that. That's how it gets started. And honestly, the way that the validation you get in a road book by nailing all of these different notes and by doing these things, it's It is addicting. You get into a flow. It helps you get into a flow. You have more to think about and more to do. It's not just riding a fast pace. It's not just following arrows. There's more brain work involved, and it is definitely a little bit more challenging. I will continue to go back to this, and when we talked all the way back when with Matthew from Rally Moto Shop, and he said it. Look at the used gear market. Look at how many people are taking their navigation equipment and putting it up for sale because they don't want to be doing this anymore. And it is very hard pressed. And just look on eBay. Go do a search on eBay and see if you can find an ICO, or one of the RNS units or one of those. You're probably going to see that worldwide there really isn't a market for that. Yeah, in the local flea market areas where it's local events and things like that, where people get used to or do road books, similar to the events that Todd is doing, just a smaller, group of people. Yeah, there's probably some used gear stuff going around, but it stays within the group, and then as more people get in, it's just that group starts getting bigger and bigger. So I would really like to see the continuation of the growth of this, especially with the middleweight adventure bike class. We've talked about this a bunch of times, in previous shows, is I really want to see how we can get more adventure bike guys doing these kind of things in road books that are more apt to what they do on an adventure bike, or what the capability of an adventure bike is and adventure bike rider. Capability of the adventure bike more often than not is more than the rider. So I do think, obviously training and doing those kind of things is definitely a worthwhile pursuit, making sure that you're trained, that you're confident, that what the bike can do, what you can do on the bike. You have to push your comfort zone. You have to do these things. And all of a sudden you realize you're doing it. So we've gotten into the warmer months. So I was hoping to get out to, there's a local school here, Sedlock Off-Road School, that does different training events for both enduro and motocross and adventure bikes. So I want to try and get out and do a couple of their classes since they're right here local to me. And just seek, if you're listening and wherever you're at, seek out people that do these classes, that do the riding, that, that you can learn from. I will say though, and I go back to the class that I did with Off-Road Smart and Jose Carrasco, is that just remember that sometimes advice is given to you and it comes from a place of trying to help you, but in some cases is actually could be poor form, could be dangerous, could be something or other. So watch the videos, I'll watch and learn. And I mean, YouTube has a ton of great content. If I can, recommend, some videos that have helped me, is literally watching the Sedlock Off-Road School videos. And then at the same time, also purchasing the stuff from Chris Birch and his classes. He's got the adventure bike class and he's also got the enduro class that he came out with. And it's a bunch of videos, really easy to follow along, little tips and techniques. And I can tell you, just by watching those videos, I was able to use some of those techniques at the SoCal Rally. And it made me dealing mentally with some of these challenges much, much easier. And once you get into that, you're like, okay, this is much better than I thought, or this is much easier than I thought. And it definitely helps your confidence and the ability to ride long distances, because that's really what rally is going to be about. Is, you're going to be riding some longer distances. There's going to be breaks in between, but it doesn't matter. It's still 5 stages, or in the case of the, Baja Rally coming up is going to be 6 stages. That's going to be a long event. Yeah, you get breaks. Yeah, you get a lot of stuff in there, that you get a chance to, but it's still 6 days of riding, one day after the other. So it's, while the terrain and while the routes and everything is just absolutely epic, at the same time, it is a longer event. It is a challenge. So, that's something you definitely want to be ready for when it comes time to setting up your bike, when it comes time to setting up yourself, your skills, your riding gear, all of that stuff. So anyway, with that being said, guys, remember, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride. All right, that is the wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you heard. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of others. Also, follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook under Chasing Waypoints, Instagram Chasing Waypoints _official, and of course, the YouTube under Chasing Waypoints. Hope everybody has a good week. We will see you guys for the next episode. Remember, shiny side up, and don't forget to tag us. We want to see where you guys are riding and what you guys are up to. Have a great week.